If you haven't already heard us say it in all of the other Pecron videos that we have made, all of these Peccy units look the same, like exactly the same. The E1000 is admittedly a little bit sleeker than the rest, but they all have different features, and unfortunately, some of them perform better than others. So welcome back to the lab where our opinions cannot be bought. Today we're taking a look at the Pecron E2400. We've had some pretty decent experience with Pecron units in the past. They're one of the budget brands that we actually recommend to you guys, but this one specifically gave us a couple problems that we haven't run into yet. As always, we have some links in the description down below, as well as any coupon codes we can get from Pecron to help you guys save some money on this or any other Pecron unit that we might recommend. But before we jump into everything about this unit, we're gonna hit you with a super quick spec teardown in case you're not already up to speed with the E2400. First up, this thing passes the Tiny Baby lift test. It only weighs 45 pounds. Tiny Baby claims that he could squat, how many are you saying?
8, 9 of them.
This unit has a 2048 watt-hour battery bank, which is actually expandable up to almost 8,200 watts if you get 2 of their expansion batteries. It has a 2400 watt inverter. It can be charged with a regular wall outlet in your house at 1800 watts, or you can charge it with solar, which has an 800 watt input. In terms of the design, it looks exactly the same as every other Pecron. I do like the rubber feet. It gives it a little bit more stability so it doesn't slide around. You have your 2 solar connections up top beside the screen. You have your AC and DC inverter buttons. You have an XT60 out, which is kind of weird. Barrel connector, 12 volt car socket, 2 USB-Cs, 4 USB-As. You only have 3 120 volt house plugs on this guy. And then this right here would be your AC wall charging socket. And the only other port on this guy is on the other side. You have your expansion battery port. Otherwise, the build is very familiar, pretty decent, and simple. Pecron's app is actually not terrible. It allows you to do a little bit more than you can do directly from the unit, change the charge speed, do that kind of stuff. And the retail price on this guy is $14.99, but Pecron always has their units on a permanent sale. So that permanent sale plus our discount code brings this unit down to $768. And you get free shipping with Pecron, which could make this or other Pecron units a pretty good deal. As with a lot of other Pecron units, I really like that almost every single plug on this thing is front facing. That allows you to push it up against a wall or have it literally in a stack of stuff in the back of your car or anything camping, and you still have access to everything. Your charging ports and your output ports, which is pretty cool. A lot of other units, sometimes the charging ports are on the back and the output ports are on the front, so you can't always access it without pulling it completely out of wherever it is to use it. We also really like the expandability of this unit. To be able to get a smaller unit like this up to about 8,200 watt hours is actually pretty impressive. A lot of the other units of this size, you can add maybe 1 battery to it. So it is pretty cool that you can get this, get started, and then add expansion batteries if you want more storage later. We also like that they retained the 12 volt car socket. A lot of other companies are kind of starting to get rid of these, which I don't really understand. A small unit like this is good for camping, overlanding, that kind of thing. And a lot of your accessories like a 12 volt fridge is going to want to run off this car socket here, so I like that they still have a couple options for just low 12 volt outputs. We also like the screen. It's simple, it's nice, and you can use these buttons to kind of rotate through. It doesn't show you anything more than you need to know, but right now it's saying it has 408 hours left running on the DC inverter. You can press it again, it shows you what the voltage is. The AC one tells you a little bit more. And something new and kind of weird that we like with Pecron as a brand, power stations are heavy and they cost a lot to ship. So getting free shipping is always a bonus. Pecron has free shipping on returns and exchanges, which is also a bonus. And if you follow them on social medias, all of their social medias or something like that, you can get that extended from 1 year to 2 years of free shipping and returns, whatever. Basically, they're just showing us that they actually believe in the product and they want to get it out there in people's hands, which is kind of cool for us because not many other companies are doing that. The first thing that we don't like about this is the 320 volt plugs. The brand new E1000 has 5 and it's only a tiny little 1000 unit, so clearly they have learned from this. This is a little bit of an older unit, so there's that, but with a bigger unit like this, I would expect to see a couple more plugs. The solar input plugs are also so dumb. I don't know why they do this. There's this one, which is a proprietary plug. You won't see it anywhere else. Basically, it only works with Pecron units. I don't know why they do this. It's like they're trying to be Apple and make things only work with their plugs, but this is only a 700 700 watt port. If you want to put the full 800 watts, you have to use an MC3 port, which is also not very common or standard, and that's only 100 watts. So a little weird. We could just get one normal, like they have an XT60 right here, which is like a pretty standard solar plug. This is an output port though. So it'd be sick to get that over here. Input, be able to do 800 watts, one plug. I don't know why we're playing games. It's kind of weird. There's also no power button on this unit. Another thing that the E1000 finally incorporated recently, but basically with this unit, if you don't have an inverter on, the unit is not on. So if you just want to connect to your app and mess around with it or whatever, you have to turn an inverter on to be able to do so. It's also just nice to know that the unit is fully 100% off by pressing that power button. I like having power buttons on things. I don't know why they don't. And if you guys know me, you know that I really don't like that there is no light on this unit. Hello, I cannot see. If you guys ever do take units like this camping or whatever, you just have a blackout and you're trying to carry it up the stairs, it's always nice to just have a light on it so you can see. Sure, you could do other things, but having a light on the power station will actually change the game once you have it in real life. When it comes to the testing, this is where we had a weird thing go on with the Pecron in our very first test, one of our most important tests, the efficiency test. So if this is a 2000 watt hour battery and we're trying to power a 1000 watt air conditioner, theoretically you should be able to do that for 2 hours if it's 100% efficient. If it's not, you might only be able to power it for an hour and a half. So it's always good to know how efficient is the power station that we're talking about. This is a 2048 watt hour battery with a 2400 watt inverter. We ran about a 2275 watt-ish load, which is pretty standard, just under the limit of the inverter. That's when the fans will be working hard, the inverter will be working hard, that's when it will be the least efficient. So this should have lasted 54 minutes running that load. It actually lasted 36. It actually overheated it near like the 20, I think ish percent mark. I forget exactly where. The output just started coming down as it started to pull voltage to try to not overheat itself. And you could see the battery percent just started cranking down and then it just shut right off. Wouldn't come back on, plugged it in, it got an overheating code on the front. So that was kind of disappointing, because that's about 66% efficient and it overheated, didn't last till 0. And every other Pecron unit that we've had has had really good numbers, actually better than average numbers in the efficiency test. The 3600 was like 89%, the 1500 was 90, and the E1000 that we just reviewed was in the 80s. We emailed Pecron and we're like, what happened here? And they basically said, you know, plug it in, let it charge till 100, leave it charging for a couple more hours. Some sort of sensor in here is going to calibrate. Do the test again. And so we did exactly that, because
people deserve second chances.
Everybody deserves a second chance. So we did what Pecron said, went ahead and did the exact same test. 2275-ish watts, should have lasted 54 minutes. This time it lasted 40.5 minutes, which is 75% efficient, which is actually like right in the average section compared to even name brand units, but it's still overheated and shut off at 15%. So I don't know what to do about that. The efficiency number is not bad, but I really don't like that it overheated and shut off. That to me, like that's a fail. It shouldn't be doing that. I'm gonna go ahead and say, because all these units are the same, it's a really good chance that they're just using like the fans from the smaller one and they're not big enough, or it needs a software update just to run the fans harder. And it would probably be just fine. Pecron says that maybe we got a faulty unit, but a lot of times people just say maybe we got a faulty unit. If we get this many faulty units, I don't want to know.
It's bullshit.
I don't want to know what the rest of the world is getting. In terms of surge, it's a 2400 watt inverter. We got it to surge up to 3000 just for a quick blip. You can see it. It'll surge, but it won't actually run anything for any significant amount of time past 2400 watts. When it comes to charge speed, it advertises that it can charge from 0 to 100 in an hour and a half. We were actually able to get this thing to go from 0 to 100 in an hour and 21 minutes. So good job on that one. You passed your own expectations. In terms of solar input, it works. The plugs are annoying, like we said earlier, but it works. Go ahead, plug a solar panel into this guy and everything is reading and working exactly as expected. Pass-through works. If you're charging a device off of this and then you end up seeing that the battery's getting pretty low, you can plug a solar panel into it or wall power into it, then charge it up and continue to power the device that you were already powering, so that's good. In terms of sound test, it's medium. It doesn't sound as grumbly as some of the other units, which is kind of good, I guess. If it sounded louder, it probably wouldn't have overheated. And in terms of idle consumption, this is one of our newer tests that we've been trying to do on every power station. Basically, if you turn the AC inverter on like this, just the AC inverter being on right now, there is power at these plugs. We're not using it, but you can hear this thing kind of humming a little bit. It just made a click. Right now, it is getting power ready to go. Even though we're not using it, it's consuming power just getting it ready. So something that's very important is idle consumption. If you were to run a 10 watt load off this 2000 watt battery, you think, hey, this thing would last forever. But if it's actually consuming 100 watts per hour just to stay on, it's not going to last that long at all. So we went ahead and did an idle consumption test, turned the AC inverter on at 98%, left it for 24 hours, came back and it was at 82% after 24 hours, which is basically 16% of the battery or 327 watts, which basically just comes out to 13.6 watts per hour, meaning that just leaving this right here right now, it's going to use 13.6 watts per hour to be on. So if you guys are looking at buying a unit like this, you're going to want to include that in your math. If you're trying to run your fridge for 24 hours, you have to add the additional 327 watts per 24 hours that this is going to use just running. That's not too bad though. The Pecron E1000 is about 18 watts per hour, and something like the Anker F3800 is about 70 watts per hour. So it's actually not a terrible number. And the last thing is customer support. Pecron has warm bodies answering their phones. Okay, they recently got a phone number. We called it.
Hi, this is Yusuf with Pecron. How can I help you?
Hey there, I'm on your website. I'm looking at the E2400LFP power station. I'm basically wondering, like, would this thing allow me to power a fridge for like a whole day if the power was out?
For the whole day?
Yeah.
That just depends on your basically like power output or what device you use. The E2400LFP is not one of our heaviest models. If you want to power like your entire house for a bit, you can use the E2400 or something like that.
It was someone in America that was trying to help us, but the answers, they still need training. They're still learning. So like, good job to them for going in the right direction. But they told us our fridge was going to use 8,000 watts a day, basically, based on the math that they were telling us, which is insane. There's someone in the seat, so hopefully in the future that gets a little bit better. But for now, at least someone will answer the phone, I guess. So at the end of the day, even though this unit is pretty cheap, it didn't really blow us away in any way, shape, or form, and it did have a little bit of issues with the overheating, which I just don't love to see. Personally, if I was going to go with Pecron, I would go spend a little bit more and get the E3600, or a little bit less and get the smaller E15 or E1000. We've had great experiences with those units, better than this one, so we'll have links to the ones we do recommend in the description below. Otherwise, let us know what you think. That's all we got for you guys. I will catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out and stay charged.